Lydia, you can start whenever.
Okay, team, let's rock and roll. Well, good morning. I'm calling this meeting to order at 9:31. Welcome to the May 2025 Public Board Meeting of the Washington State Commission on Asian and Pacific American Affairs. My name is Lydia Faitalia, and I'm the CAPAA Board Chair. The time is now 9:32, and I'm officially calling this meeting to order. This meeting is held virtually online via Zoom. You may visit our website for the meeting materials and Zoom link at capaa.wa.gov. We will hold public comment at the start of today's agenda. If you're on Zoom and wish to be added to the list, please message staff via the Zoom chat with your name. All public comments will have 2 minutes with a time alert to wrap up your comments upon 30 seconds left. To submit written comments, you may email capaa@capaa.wa.gov. I'd like to take this moment to celebrate two important items. First, May is AANHPI Heritage Month. CAPAA sends out monthly newsletter highlighting important work of our community leaders across Washington State, upcoming events, and a reflection on history. In the latest newsletter edition, you will find a feature on the celebration of the new book titled New Land, commemorating the 50th anniversary of Southeast Asian migration to Washington State since the fall of Saigon. The second item I will put on hold until our new commissioner joins us, and I will wait until Malia joins us, and then we'll move to that item. But now we will go ahead and do introductions. And I'll go ahead and start. My name is Lydia Faitalia, and I'm the chair of the Commission on Asian Pacific Affairs, and I currently represent King County on our commission. And starting to my right with roll call, I'll go ahead and call on Lolita Upala.
Good morning, everyone. Lalita Upala, go by she, her, Commissioner for East King County.
If we can popcorn, that'd be helpful.
Thank you. I will popcorn to Commissioner Sisavadi.
Good morning, everyone. Ekrat Sisavadi, Commissioner for South King County. Thank you. And I can popcorn it to Commissioner Ping Ping.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ping Ping. I go by she, her. I'm a commissioner for Spokane County. Thank you. I would ask Carrie.
Good morning, everyone. This is Carrie Hui. I go by she, her, and I am a commissioner for Yakima County and a small part of King. And I will send it to Commissioner Fongsa.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Commissioner David Pongsa, representing Benton County. And I will give it over to Commissioner Leasing.
Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Anna Leasing here using she, she pronouns, and I represent King County. I will pass it over to Commissioner McKenna.
Hey, Manuia. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kiana McKenna. My pronouns are she, her, representing Spokane County, and I will pass it to Commissioner Learman.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Lehrman, representing Franklin County, he, him, and I will pass it to Commissioner Cho.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all. Sam Cho, he, him pronouns, representing King County. Let's see here. Who hasn't gone yet?
I think just staff now, Sam.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll pass it off to you, Nim.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nam Nguyen, Acting Director of the Commission. I'll pass it to Nagin.
Hi, everyone. Project Manager for CAPAA, Nagin Kamkar. And then, last but not least.
Good morning. My name is Brenda O'Brien, Project Coordinator for CAPAA, using she, her pronouns.
Well, welcome everyone. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. I'll now entertain a motion and a second to approve.
Motion, Commissioner Sisvadi.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I have a second?
A second.
We have a second. All of those in favor, please say
A.
All opposed say nay. Okay, are there any abstentions? Seeing that there are none, the motion carries. Next on our agenda is the approval of the March 2025 draft board meeting minutes, which everyone received in advance. Are there any suggestions, changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing that there are none, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Pascual. And then can I have a second, please?
Commissioner Leasing, seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Lissing. The motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions or questions for staff? Okay, we will now call the vote. All those in favor, please say A.
A.
Hey.
Okay, come on, it's an HPI month. I need y'all to just. Then all those opposed say nay. Okay, are there any abstentions? No? Okay, the motion carries. Next on our agenda is public comment. We are now entering into the public comment portion of our meeting, where we can hear from members of the public. At the beginning of this meeting, we ask interested members of the public to message in the chat to sign up for public comment. Staff will call out those names in order. If you just logged on, it is not too late to sign up. At the end of public comment, I will call for any remaining speakers we may have missed before concluding. Please note each person has 2 minutes to submit public comment. With a chime reminder at 30 seconds left, the clock on the screen will help keep your time. If you run over time, you may be cut off. Staff, please share the first 2 names on our list.
The only guest we have right now is Ray and Senator Hasegawa. So maybe we should invite them to speak if they have anything to say.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may speak, please. This is Emeritus Commissioner Ray Pasqua. And greetings to all of you. I wanted to indicate this year during the legislative session that I wrote and got legislative sponsorship, and a resolution was passed by both the House and the Senate that celebrates Filipino American educators in Washington State. And so that was passed in the month of April by both the House and the Senate. I participated in 2 historical events for Filipino Americans. In early April, the first Filipino American judge was appointed and what they called investitured in King County. And his name was Judge Benjamin Santos. And so I was able to attend the celebration and swearing in ceremony at Filipino Hall in Seattle. The last thing that I attended was 2 Wednesdays ago in the triumvirate name in the city of Seattle, the International District, which is also now known as Saigon Town, and now Filipino Town. And I was able to attend the unveiling of the cable car that was where the name Filipino Town was added onto the cable car. And so approximately 40 Filipino American community members attended the first trolley ride that went from International District. It only went a few blocks, but this was a historical event for Filipino Americans statewide. So that's my report, and hello to Senator Hasagawa. Thank you all, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Clarify, Talia, I see in the chat the senator is available to answer questions if anyone has, but is going to allow the time back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Hasagawa. Thank you, Commissioner Morides Hasegawa, for all of the work you continue to do in community. And thank you, Negin, for flagging that up. So next on our agenda is the staff report. So we have reached the end. First of all, my bad. We had reached the end of both sign-up sheets. I just want to double check with my team. Brenda, do we have anybody else, Negin, signed up before I close public comment?
You're good.
Oh, we're good? Okay, thank you. Okay, we will now turn to CAPA's Executive Director, Nam Nguyen, to present the May staff report.
Okay, I'll start with welcoming Malia to the commission. Malia has actually arrived, so I'll give this opportunity for Malia to introduce herself, basically where you're from, what you do, and why you joined the commission.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Apologies for not being on camera right now. It's my daughter's birthday and we are in transit at the moment. But very grateful to be here with you and to join the commission. My name is Malia Delio. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the co-president and tribal liaison for the Pacific Islander Health Board for Washington State. I also serve on the tribal working body for University of Washington Center for Disaster Resilient Communities that's building out the Northwest evidence-based Public Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Center for Region 10. And I work at Seattle Children's as part of my day job in health equity on that end. And very grateful. I'm from Hawaii originally, Native Hawaiian, and I also have Chinese ancestry on my mother's side and was raised in Manoa Valley on Oahu, for those that are familiar with that area, and went to Kamehameha schools for Native Hawaiians on the island of Oahu before moving here to Washington to attend the University of Washington. So I have lived here in Washington as long as I have lived in Hawaii now. And I consider both of those my homes.
Okay, thank you, Malia, and welcome to the commission. The second item on the staff report is the finance. CAPAA is in good financial condition currently, spending below the budget for fiscal year 2025, which ends at the end of the month, end of June. And then we'll start the next planning budget. There were 3 sponsorship requests for this period. CAPAA denied 2 requests and approved 1 for Korean Culture Night. Program Manager Nagin Kamkar will discuss more about the governor budget. The short summary is that the budget was signed on May 20th, 2025. The total budget is around $78 billion for the biennium. CAPAA budget for that biennium is $1.2 million. That's about a 33% reduction from the previous biennium. The budget does include supplemental appropriation that's not included in our base budget for Lunar New Year educational programming and a budget proviso for outreach to the COFA community on Real ID. CAPAA had one outreach of note between the last meeting. CAPAA partnered with the governor's small business development team on a seminar on how to start a business at the Seattle Community Center, which is actually in Kent. The community service center will present later in the program, later in the agenda, and so will the governor's small business team. We want to generate idea on how to outreach to the Afghan community, but also use the governor's small business team to outreach to other community as well. The educational disparity study will roll out starting in July. The expected report, the UW, University of Washington research team will release the study in July. And then we're working on a plan on how to outreach on the result of the study and how to work with policymaker and legislator on implementing the recommendation of the committee and also ideas on future studies on the AA and HBI community. Finally, the OCA, which is formerly known as the Organization of Chinese American, they went from an organization for Chinese American to basically a wide-ranging AA and HBI advocacy organization. They're hosting their conference in July. I will put the conference information in the chat, and CAPAA will sign up and pay for anybody to attend. If any commissioner is interested in attending, please let us know by June 15 so we can sign you up. The conference is 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, from starting on July 24th. If you sign up, please sign up for the entire conference. And please plan on attending the entire conference. Okay. Our next meeting is in Spokane. That's a long way away. Spokane on September 20th. But I do plan to visit those in the east side of the mountain in the same week as the conference. But on the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I will be on the east side of the mountain, and I will try to schedule a meeting with Ping, with Kiana, Scott, and David. If you're available that week, I'll reach out and see if we can meet up to talk about what we can do and how we can increase work in the east side of the mountain. Is there any particular question? Does anybody have any question on the staff report, on anything happening with the commission? Okay, I will drop the convention information in the chat. Please let us know by June 15 if you want to attend.
Edie, I have a question, just a quick question. For our commissioners coming from outside of King County, would the commission be able to provide stipends and meals for them, or like housing?
Yeah, a hotel and stipend. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Not stipend. Hotel. We can't provide stipend for attending the conference, but we can provide meal reimbursement.
Okay.
And I believe some meal are included with the convention.
Okay. And will you have an agenda of that conference in advance?
Yes. In fact, yes. The agenda has already been set. It's on the website that I just put in the chat. In fact, one of our commissioner who's not here today, Kendall Kosai, is a member of the board for the OCA Greater Seattle. He unfortunately won't be able to attend the convention, but he has helped schedule a lot of the agenda.
Okay, thank you for that. Edie, is there any questions, team, before we move on? No. Okay, you all are quiet this morning. Thank you for that update, Edie Nguyen. Next on our agenda is the legislative and budget update. I will go ahead and look to Project Manager Cam Carr. Will now present the legislative and budget update.
Hi, everyone. Just give me a second while I pull up PowerPoint. It's hiding my notes. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. It took a bit to load. So can everyone see the screen then? Okay, great. So we had a long legislative session. The state legislative session has ended. It ended on time, and when the prime responsibility for the state legislative session for legislators is to come up with a budget to fund programs and services for folks, and the budget proposal was provided in a conference for both the House and Senate chambers. And upon discussion and agreement, they sent or delivered that budget to Governor Ferguson, who signed it on May 20th, and which then avoids having to add special sessions. And so everything has been on time. It was a difficult session because of the state budget gap between our revenue and spending, which was estimated initially at $10 billion. And then OFM, our Office of Financial Management, estimates that came out at the end of April, updated that to 12.6 billion over the next 4 years. So the legislators and governor face tough decisions on how best to close that gap while also maintaining essential services for our most vulnerable communities. And then here you'll see the black check mark that this is where we are, the final day of May, but all the deadlines and cutoffs that we had, your legislative committee chaired by Anna Leasing.
Again, the slideshow is not up. It's just the page. It's just the slideshow is not running.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
We see the first page.
Yeah, here it is. Oh, it's we're just seeing the like it's still not in slideshow mode. It's still in like work
We're
mode.
seeing your presenter view,
Yeah.
like your notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how to change that. So.
Oh,
I think you have to press resume slideshow. There's a thing on the.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
You
second.
are fine. Take your time.
Thank you.
No worries. And thank you, Commissioner Leasing, for chairing the committee.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And all the labor that goes into it.
Okay.
No worries, we're way ahead of schedule.
Thanks, EDDAM. Me and the IT gods have not quite reconciled yet, but
all good. No problem. You know what, Project Manager Camcard, take your time. We're gonna shift to the sponsorship request. When you're ready, don't worry. Just ping me.
Appreciate that.
So, no problem. It's a Saturday. It's gonna be okay. I'm with some of my favorite people. So next on our agenda is a discussion on sponsorship requests. So we have an update from ED Win regarding the sponsorship request. Please go ahead with your presentation and describe clearly the motion you are proposing for the action item.
As everybody know, well, as we just presented, CAPAA is currently undergoing a budget cut of about 33% from our base operating budget for the next biennium. So we went from about $1.8 million biennium operation budget to now 1.2, about 1.25. And so far, our sponsorship requests over the years, in fact, over my experience with the commission, I don't think our sponsorship request is meeting our strategic goal. Most people who we don't interact much with the organization that request for sponsorship, and sometimes staff has to do research on these particular organization, and occasionally there's this problematic element, such as a political element to organization that we can't sponsor. But overall, I don't think the sponsorship requests, and I believe this since I was a commissioner, is meeting our strategic goal. So my proposal is that we suspend sponsorship requests at this time and have at and allow the commission, the executive director, myself, and the executive committee to basically use that fund for a special project for the commission based on the request from any commissioner can make a request for us to use the funding for a special project, sponsoring specific events, sponsoring work. We have already done so because there's a provision in there that allow us to do so. In the last 6 months, we have sponsored, for instance, the Western Samoan delegation. We sponsor events for the Western Samoan delegation coming. We sponsor a lunch for them and other events. We also sponsor events for the Laotian community that was requested by the Commissioner Sisavati. Well, overall, we can use that, and we sponsor the local hero award out of that fund. Part of it. It's sponsored out of that fund. So I think we can be more strategic with using the fund than what we've been doing so far. And it doesn't mean we won't sponsor events. It means that we are more strategic. We can sponsor event with organization we staff identify or commissioner identify and projects that commissioner identify. So my proposal is for us to suspend at this time because partly one, because of the budget, and two, because of the strategic, we can do it better. Like we can use the fund to do community events and have our presence known in a stronger, more strategic way. So if any commissioner wants to make the motion, staff would welcome a motion in that proposal. Just a simple motion to suspend at this time. Kiana?
Yeah, thanks, Nam. I just have a couple of questions. Could you give a little bit more information on what the process would look like if a commissioner were to request a special project?
Yes, it's basically it's not going to be anything formal. It's just basically just an email or call with staff, and then I would have a discussion with the executive committee on whether to sponsor the event. We still would want to limit the amount, but informal policy to limit the sponsorship to about or the project to about $500, which is the current amount that we're using. But I think if we suspend the I think we can have flexibility on the total amount. Just keep in mind the total amount we have right now is around $25,000, and we wanted that to last for a while. We haven't fundraised since in 10 years. So that amount has been that amount has been there for 10 years. I also think we should have a process where we fundraise for additional funds so we can have sponsor a special project. But overall, I think right now, I think to just answer your question, if you wanted us to use that fund for something in particular, a project that you have or an event in the community that you think we should have a present at, then you just email us, staff, and then I would bring it up to executive committee.
Mhm. Thanks, Sam. I'm not sure if is this an okay time to just voice some concerns?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I appreciate the thought around like how could we make this more impactful? And I think a hard thing with sponsorships, especially on, I mean, to be so for real, I think a lot of these sponsorships are usually what, like $250 max?
500.
500 max. Okay. Um, some of them are smaller. And sometimes, sometimes that goes a long way, sometimes it doesn't. And I can appreciate that for communities, especially in a funding time like this, that you know, it's important for whoever is providing funding to really try to be intentional about impact and then also like the relationship building tied to it, which I think some of the events that we've sponsored, commissioners try to attend or staff try to attend, and some were maybe not able to. My concern with shifting to um, this kind of special project model is that we on the commission, we just don't have representation for the many, many, many communities that CAPA technically serves. And I worry about losing connection to some communities who do reach out. I do agree that I think we could be more strategic and more impactful. That's a lot of money, right? Like that could, that could do a lot of good, but I do worry about the folks that don't have community voices on the the commission technically, or hypothetically. And I just worry about, um, kind of taking an opportunity like that away from community in a funding time like this. So I feel multiple ways. I do think we could be more strategic and impactful, and I like that you've opened that conversation. So I appreciate that. And I'm not sure what other, folks' thoughts are, but I just thought I would share mine. Thank you.
And part of this is we don't usually get a lot of, well, we don't get a lot. I feel like we often don't get a lot of quality requests. And at the same time, we sometimes get requests from the same organization. And I feel like we can support those organizations in a better manner than just a sponsorship. So it's just a proposal out there. I think Malia had a question. We don't use equity tool rubric for decision making to prioritize the sponsorship funding. We actually don't usually get that many requests. But one of the issue I also want to highlight is that we have to say no to certain requests because we just simply don't, like, there's an objection within the commission about funding certain things, or there's a political nature to them. And it's hard for us sometimes to do so because having to explain why. Um, and that has been a problem in the recent past. Commissioner McKenna, to answer your question, also conflict of interest is always something that we keep in mind. Commissioners usually don't ask for a sponsorship request, but what kind of conflict are you worried about, Commissioner McKenna?
So I know some of us work for community-based organizations, and so just kind of recognizing that. I know when I mean, I don't actually think my organization has applied for a sponsorship through CAPA, although I know you all are constantly on our list, but I think it's really helpful to be really clear about conflicts of interest and where commissioners need to step out, or just have really clear boundaries, because I think that's my other concern, is we're also deeply tied to community that I just want it to feel fair, and I want it to feel equitable, to Malia's point. So I really like this conversation. I really appreciate it. I don't know if anybody else is having kind of things coming up for them, but yeah, this is just kind of I guess I have a lot of different thoughts on it, but I appreciate this conversation.
Yes, to answer, yes, thanks. I think we need to have a discussion on that too and come up with a formula, a better policy on how to use the funding. To clarify on Malia's question in the chat, this budget is actually separate from our operational budget. It is I don't know what the community grant award you're referring to, but this budget was a donation from a donation account. It was donated we used to fundraise in the past, and the 40th anniversary, we had a fundraiser, and that's where most of the funding came from. Donation into an account where CAPA can use outside of a lot of state policies and rules on spending. So it's basically a special project budget that we use for sponsorship. I would say that the other commission don't have sponsorship. They generally use that fund basically for special projects that they can do outside of certain state requirement. But we are the only commission that use that fund for sponsorship of any kind. Commissioner Lysing?
Leasing, thank you.
Leasing, sorry.
I share some of Commissioner McKenna's concerns in terms of just like access and folks being able to, unintentionally being shut out just because they don't have connections to the commission or we don't have relationships with them. I personally have a hard time thinking in like hypotheticals and being still relatively newish to the commission. I'm not super familiar with the types of events that we have historically sponsored. So it would be like, I don't feel comfortable making a decision or weighing in either way at this moment. It would be really helpful for me if we could get like a follow-up email to the commissioners with just like here's kind of the events that we typically have sponsored, and then this is what we're like having a little bit more detail in like what you're envisioning for more strategic uses of that fund, so that we can have a more informed decision-making process on like what exactly we would be trying to redirect this to and the objectives we're trying to achieve.
Yes, we'll take that over. Commissioner Ping?
Yeah, I also appreciate Commissioner McKenna's expressing your concerns and your passion, your support for this funding opportunity. For me, it's yeah, I'm just thinking based on the conversation so far, maybe we need more time to have a more thorough discussion on the benefits and the like advantages and the disadvantages of the if there's a new proposal that our director Nam is proposing in this meeting right now. For me, I kind of yeah, I understand very well about our ED's Nam's concern about the dilemma of how to object, how to not approve some grant because of the nature of some organizations. So it is really hard job for our executive committee to decide this. I'm wondering when you propose to have commissioner can make proposal to request some grant money to do some activities. So if there's like $25,000 a year of the grant, can we?
There's not $25,000.
Okay.
$25,000 period.
A period. Yeah. So just maybe just can we set up some funding just for the commissioners to apply? So that could be separate from the general publics because we do have a like advantage to get in to be considered if we send in our request for the money, so then the public they may feel not fair because they don't have access to know the internal information. Yeah, thank you.
Take that advisement. I will take that under as we need to discuss this further. Staff will put together a presentation. I know it's a long way away. It's actually probably the longest in between meetings we'll have. So, but it's also the September meeting is also usually somewhat of a planning meeting. So we will, or kind of a mini retreat we did last year. So we will put together a presentation and um, proposal and options for the commission to do with the fund. It's just we wanted this be out there and wanted your opinion. If you have any opinion, a further opinion or question, we'll put it in the presentation in September. The only thing is, I say at this current point, we don't really have enough. Like we're not putting, in staff opinion, the fund is not being put to good use so far, and there are better way to do it. So we will welcome any opinion you have on how we can better use that fund, or a more systematic way to use that fund in general. And also a proposal to keep increase that fund in the near future. I do think one of the options we have is that we are able to fundraise, and we don't need a lot of money to go a long way. That fund has been impactful, mostly as for a project the commissioner are passionate about, and we didn't need a lot of money for that. Okay, so I will take Sam.
Yeah, now just a quick question: where are these funds accruing interest as we?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not sitting in a. I mean, I'm not. Is it just a savings account?
It's just a saving account. The state run through DES.
Oh, okay. So it's not like we have a Bank of America account or something like that.
No, it's separate. It's a special kind of account that's managed by the state. So OFM and DES has control over the funding. Though, but it is separate. It's in our RCW. It is a separate fund that we can use. And as you know, state and government in general has certain restriction on how they can use funding and things like, for instance, the local hero award, food and things like that are partly paid through that funding when we have more guests than just the commissioner and speakers and presenter. We can use that fund to.
I thought maybe because it was a philanthropic donation that it's separate from the purview of DES, but thanks for
Yeah,
the clarification.
it's managed by DES, but it's a special account where we can use it and we don't have to follow certain state policy.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah. Scott.
Yeah, just a quick question. It sounds like the reason we're talking about changing the model, we started talking about a reduced budget, then it came out it's not a budget issue. It's more of saying no and determining how to say no or yes.
I think it's both, Scott, because yeah.
Have we just not, I know we have criteria. Are the criteria not clear enough, or are there situations where someone puts in a request, they meet all of our written criteria, and there's another reason that we want to say no? So do we need to sharpen our pencil there as to what the criteria is?
Well, I think that's partly the case. Sometimes it's an organization that we identify certain risk with in terms of how the money will be spent and also how there's certain political aspect to it that we just can't as a state agency get involved with. There's also yeah, and that's mostly been the case lately. We just identify some risks that we weren't comfortable with funding a particular event or an organization. A lot of it has to do with politics as well. We can make the criteria sharper. I think Kiana is kind of right. $500 is right. She's right about like $500 or $250 or whatever is requested. Usually is not it's not a lot of money, and organization kind of don't want to like pursue like such a low amount. And speaking to the reason, it's both because for one thing, the budget does one part of our budget is the service contract budget, and that's where we do things like sign you guys up for a conference or convention, which we haven't done much in the past. But I want to start to get more involved, the commissioner more involved now. Those things are getting reduced, so we can't sign as many contracts or provide or sign up for servers as we did in the past. We can't travel as much as we did in the past because the travel budget is getting cut by a third. Things like that we can make up with the special project, the donation account. Right. Our budget is getting slashed by a third, which is not as bad as I had anticipated and had fought against, but it is still a significant amount and we don't know the impact of that yet. So with we can make some of that up with the donation account. Any further question? If not, we will put this on the September agenda for the September meeting, and then we can have further discussion. We'll come up with a proposal on, and maybe we can talk over how to formulate a better policy on how to spend this particular amount of money, and maybe how much. I think $500 is not enough for community organization to be interested, but if we give out too much money, then that account get drained up really fast. Yep. Any further question?
No, I just want to say thank you, Edie Wynn and staff, for really taking a deep dive at our policies and procedures and everything like that, and bringing up these conversations to have with our commissioners and our commissioners to weigh in. And so for really just doing a deep dive in what policies we need to update, and just for appreciation for this pot of money. I believe it was Edie Hasagawa who had started this as she saw a need in community. And so to be able to see this continue and open it up for us to weigh in. And it's about progress, not perfection. And we are doing that. We had that conversation today. And I see that Commissioner Malia has offered to give equity and rubric tools. And we have so much talent on here. And so thank you, commissioners, for being aware. Commissioner Leasing for flagging up concerns about this. And Nam, thank you for your leadership on this, as this is a hard conversation to have during this time. And so we're moving forward. We're updating our procedures and policies to meet the current needs of communities. So malo opito to that. If there are no questions, ED Win and commissioners, I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton or the mic over to Project Manager Camcar to go ahead and give us budget and legislative updates, if that's okay.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to everyone in this meeting, attendees and commissioners, for your patience. I am pulling this up over time. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so going back to the state legislative update, here I was explaining that we're at the end of the state legislative session and we're approaching the end of this fiscal period. And I'll piggyback off of Executive Director Wynn, who mentioned that CAPAA as a state agency compared to the other ethnic commissions, we mitigated the most impact to our commission. We already are functioning off of a tight budget. We have flexibility if we need to save funds to be able to switch, for example, from an in-person event or meeting to virtual. So we have that flexibility. But we are prepared for the budget freeze, and our work can continue. And then, as you'll see in the staff report, NAM's detailed numbers are in there. At the beginning of the year, staff surveyed the CAPAA board for priority legislation and issue areas for the legislative committee to work on. And this chart is just to kind of recenter and recap where it started, what is the authority of the legislative committee, because there was a lot of discussion in our last board meeting. It was a really great discussion on what are the guardrails around CAPAA as an agency to advocate on budget-related items. And it's important for community to be able to hear that we have our legislative committee who have worked really hard throughout legislative session with staff to advocate on our priority agenda, which we are empowered to do. There was an extra step involved that was new in this with this new administration, which was to have another vetting process with the governor's office. So we, Executive Director Wynn, would have weekly meetings with the governor's office to make sure and ensure that we were in lockstep. So we could not engage or testify on bills as immediately as community could. And we did hear feedback in the last board meeting that I think that delay was felt. But I can report that we didn't receive any challenges from the governor's office to be able to move forward on our policies. Let me move this. So I went into depth in the last board meeting on each of the bills. I'm just going to highlight a few things that has happened since then on which bills passed into state law. There's this green square, so you could see of the list on these next two slides what passed. So the first one, unfortunately, did not pass. House Bill 1262. This one was flagged as priority by the committee and by our healthcare committee chair, Commissioner Hui, who supported the elements of this bill, which would have created greater expansion for representation in updating the Health Disparities Council, which is government authorized and funded. And unfortunately, the bill, it did move as far as to the House Rules Committee, which means for next session that if the Health Disparities Council decides to bring this bill back, there's enough political will there and potential for another go round on this bill. And then if there are no questions on the House Bill 1217 on rent stabilization or Senate Bill 5101 on lead protections for victims of hate or bias, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Those two bills were signed into law. And I did look back in the bill history, and the vote count was high. So like there was a small threshold in dissent. The clarifying hate crimes offense, that bill was partially vetoed, and then House Bill 1491 promoting transit-oriented housing development, that one was signed into law, as you can see in the chart. I will flag that the Make Us Visible bill, this is the bill that would direct OSPI to expand their curriculum to include an HPI history. So the K through 12 education would have access to that curriculum, and this bill is organized. The lead organizer, I'm sorry, let me take a step back. The lead organizer is Angeli Chong, and as you know, that they came to the CAPAA board last November, provided a step-by-step presentation on what the elements are in the bill and what we could expect politically, knowing that there are other ethnicities and cultures that are not represented in our classrooms, and with regards to our histories, our collective histories, and how that discussion can play out in the state legislature. And the bill was scheduled for a public hearing, but then it was paused after that without any communication to the community. And so in the last board meeting, they, including Angeli, we had a lot of feedback that community didn't get enough information or transparency on where the bill went, despite the high support from community. There were hundreds of people that had signed in support of the bill. And it didn't move on to executive session where it would have been voted on. And so there was an action item that came out of that for me to work with Angeli Chong, and I've met with her in a brainstorming session. I believe Commissioner Sisavati was also there to talk about both this bill and this general consensus that we're hearing from folks that our ANHPI community members aren't feeling heard when they come to the legislature. They travel. We have elders that make the trip down to Olympia, and they either didn't get a meeting or didn't have their bills heard. And so we're working together to figure out why this particular bill didn't move forward and hear other concerns as well. As far as our budget update, my notes up for that. So, as you know, the cost to maintain current services and program levels for the next 4 years have risen to $12.6 billion. This is according to OFM, and these are due to inflation, higher projected caseloads and safety net programs, expansion of popular programs like early learning, and workforce costs. Washington receives most of its revenue from taxes, licenses, permits, and fees, and federal grants, the last of which we have increased pressure on state governments to fund and replace those federal cuts as they continue. In this budget, more than $9 billion in taxes were added, and that includes the raising of real estate excise tax, business and occupation tax, property tax, and raising the baseline of our sales tax. And I did put an example of the bills that were passed between legislation and within the budget that were intended to fill this gap. And you're seeing right here, these two bills would bring in about $5.6 billion over the next 4 years when we're looking at a $12 to $16 billion gap. And staff has been working with our committee chairs and the legislative committee. I know Commissioner Fongsa, you had asked as an example, what are the economic impacts from this budget? And we can estimate that businesses and consumers are going to feel these taxes. Our small businesses, the mom and pop shops especially, are going to feel that, and those discussions were fairly contentious in this legislative session. There were revenue proposals that would have placed the weight of responsibility on our highest earners, or even a revenue proposal like a payroll tax, and those were eventually rejected by Governor Ferguson. And with regards to CAPAA's commitment areas, I highlighted what I could to go through the budget and see what are the most significant impacts that are relevant for our NHPI communities. And so with regards to economic development, like I mentioned, with our Economic Development Committee, we can expect small businesses to be impacted and consumers with higher prices of goods. Our sales tax base will expand. There's several programs within the Department of Commerce that provide services to support small and growing businesses, and part of that are called local economic hubs, and that funding was preserved, so that's a win. I attended an APIC meeting last week, and this is completely their research, but I included a list of community and cultural centers that had funding accepted or preserved, which is also a win, included in this chart. And the only other thing I wanted to highlight verbally from this chart that you can already see is our health and human services and our education pools. They are usually the competing budget buckets when looking at which essential services are going to get cut. And education was largely preserved. There is, compared to the last biennium. However, our health and human services programs, significant budget cuts to our priority areas include early childhood education and assistance program, abortion access fund, and foster youth mentoring services are examples of programs that got cut. Any questions?
I have a question, Megan.
Yes.
My reading of the March meetings notes, I remember it's the HB 574 for MU Make Us Visible bill. Is that sponsored or like by Wellman? But here in the PowerPoint it says it's novels. Just maybe it's SB and HB has different sponsors. Is that right? just confusion about who sponsored this bill, MUV bill.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. The sponsor was Senator Nobles. The committee chair that this bill was being processed and vetted through was Senator Wellman. And committee chairs have the power to determine which bills move forward or not. And so the kind of brainstorming and reflection mode that I'm in with Angeli to figure out what happened, why didn't it move forward, was there not political will, is to have those conversations with both Senator Nobles and Wellman.
So they both of this, both like Wellman and Noble were responsible to answer our questions. Is that
To
right?
answer the questions. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to also note that this is the first year both Nagin and I and the commission and the governor office has worked on. We're all new to this process. So another agenda item I would propose for the September meeting is to talk about the legislative process and how we want to get involved and basically have a more systematic way on how we can weigh in on issues. One thing to note is that I think one thing we should be proud of is in terms of legislation, we are the only commission the other ethnic commission do not really weigh in or get involved in the legislative process as much or anywhere near as much as we do. They don't go sign on support bills or organize hearing or organize testimony. CAPAA has been unique in that role over the past, I guess, 10 years. And I want to continue that, but this is a learning experience, especially working with the governor office. It's different than what I heard it was before. So I want to have a more systematic process in terms of how we can have more influence in the coming legislative session and the coming biennium, which will be a shorter session. So I think that will be up for discussion at the September meeting, which traditionally has been more of a planning meeting anyway. Does anyone else have any other question or comments?
Thank you for Project Manager Cam Carr for that presentation. I guess my only concern would be I'm wondering that now during the interim, if we could basically gather how it's going to impact our communities across Washington State. I know EC has raised some concerns, Carrie. I know we have a lot of concerns. And also the work of all of you commissioners on here, Kiana, Malia. So I'm just interested and wondering how we could strategically um, gather the data and be more informative when that legislative process does come up. So I just wanted to flag that up.
Actually, that might be sooner rather than later. I would say that the one thing we didn't mention because it's not a sure thing is that this budget, although final in terms of right now, may change due to what the funding from the federal government will look like when the federal government passed their budget on things such as Medicaid. So there's a potential for a relook at the budget from our state government in the fall. So
Yeah, I
it
hear
might
that.
actually get worse.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to, and I agree with you. It is going to get worse. It's not a secret. It's out there. And so our elders and our children and all of these programs that are listed on this project, on this PowerPoint, excuse me, is where we need to stand. Like we need to step to it, is what I'm saying. And that means that before that budget comes out later on this year, I would like to see all of the commissioners flag up some of the major concerns that are going to be impacted whether we know the budget or not, because we need to get ahead of it and we need folks to stand for our communities. And that's why we take up this political space. And I just want to say that.
I'll respond to that really quickly, Chair Pantalia. We're creating space for a debrief as a legislative committee. I'm going to be extending that meeting time to the rest of the board. It's not mandatory, and I'll include that in the email to remind you guys, but that'll be a time to figure out how we can improve processes in admin for the legislative committee and also discuss the bills, political conversations, policy discussions. So the email that you're going to get from me in the next 24 hours is going to confirm that meeting time. And so that's going to be the first, and it sounds like of many conversations that we can have to able to communicate that information with communities and then hear what communities are hearing, hear what communities want, so then we can adjust to their needs.
Thank you for that, Project.
Thank you.
But I just want to say this. While we're in the interim, I think we need to be responsible to have state listening sessions. You know what I mean? Like I get there's big nonprofit orgs that serve AA and HPI communities, but not all those big nonprofits cover the Washington state. So I am encouraging our commissioners and our project manager and our ED, our team here, to really think strategically and really work together to figure out which communities we're missing. Because at the end of the day, like we're all in this together, whether we agree or not. And so I think it's time to really put in that work and to really dig deep and figure out where everything and everybody what they're feeling, because there's just a lot going on right now.
Lydia, moving on.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and move on to the next thing. And I hope you all know that my voice may be coming across direct, but that's why I'm your chair, because I'm going to be very honest. And whether you agree or not, it's okay. We're going to figure it out together, okay, team? And I just want to say, I want to thank Carrie Pasquill. Carrie, I just want to say thank you. Carrie is an elder. I consider her one of my elders. And this session was very hard. And she didn't express it, but she showed up and she advocated for the governor's Health Disparities Council bill. That bill was very important, and a lot of our communities felt the fear. And then when there was a presentation of the cuts in Medicaid, HCA, all of the things that our elders and our children and our communities, period, needed, she still stood despite everything, and even Representative Santos. So this is, and Silisabusa, Lua Pitcher, the list goes on. The list goes on. But I just want to say that because we have elders and we have warriors that have stood for us and that has helped create this commission and has helped move this work forward. And despite all of white supremacy and whatever you want to call it that is going on right now, we need to be just as strong as our elders, and we're the next generation of leaders that need to step to it. And if we don't know, we have Bob Hasagawa, we have Carrie here on the call, we have all of these leaders, and we need to utilize and activate our communities and also reach out to the other commissions like Carrie has done. Thank you, Carrie, for gathering all of our other ethnic commissions. And that's a hard job. And so for me to watch that elder do that and step to it at these hard spaces, we really just need to rally and support and just get that wisdom and knowledge up so we can move policies, including yourself, Ray. Thank you very much for all your hard work. I'm going to stop right now, and then we're going to pivot, team. 1039, Commissioner Roundtable. The purpose of the Commissioner Roundtable is to share our activities and priorities top of mind as a commissioner. I'll go ahead and look to Carrie to go first, then we will call on the next commissioner to share popcorn style. When you are done speaking, please call the next commissioner, so popcorn style, which each have up to 5 minutes, followed by 2 minutes for Q&A.
Wow. Thank you, and Chair Fatalia. I just wanted to be very brief. Actually, this morning, happening at the Filipino Community Hall, we have a young Filipina who is part of the Washington State History Museum that is doing an article and interviewing some of our elders from a time period in which there was, well, there's ongoing bias and prejudice in our communities, but we're looking at in the 1950s. So we're hoping that we had a good turnout. I wasn't able to be there physically in Wapato this morning, but I just wanted to give a shout out to that's what's happening right now in our Filipino community. And then a few other things. I mean, this past weekend, actually, the Memorial Day weekend, we've been very busy just going around and recognizing the elders in our various communities, in our AAA and HPI communities that have gone before us and that we want to show our respect and honor the work that they have done. So a lot of traveling as a result of that, and just hoping to continue the work, especially around our health and human services, especially in opportunities where we can advocate for behavioral health, wellness in our youth and in our elder communities. So that's, I will pass on now to Commissioner Lehrman.
All right, thanks, Carrie. I spent some time, my wife and I, for 5 or 6 years now, advocate to our local city council to recognize AAPI month in May and have their own proclamation, just to continue to raise awareness. And we invite and others invite people from the community to come and celebrate at a city council meeting. So it started in about April to get that together, communicate with the city council again. And they did it. It was a great turnout. Commissioner Fonkso was there as well as other members of our AAPI community and also allies as well. So that was on May 5th. And then another fun thing that I was able to take part in was some students from local high school called Chiawana High School here in Pasco contacted me, and they're seniors, and they wanted to, as one of their outgoing activities, start up a AAPI at a club at their high school. So they were doing interviews and put an interview together to get people to talk about it. So I went into the school and recorded for that, talked about CAPAA a little bit and talked about the needs of AAPI and HPI and the importance of having advocate at all levels, including the high school. So that was a fun activity for me. And then personally, I had served on the school board for 10 years before resigning about 3 years ago. And it wasn't really on my radar, but in talking to some people, threw my name in the hat again for our local election in November to maybe serve on the school board again, to be involved at the local level. So thank you. And I will kick it on to Commissioner McKenna.
Thanks, Commissioner Lehrman. Good morning, everybody, again. I'm going to just pull up my notes so I don't miss anything. Okay, so yeah, so May actually marks a really important holiday in the Marshallese community. So I wanted to spend a minute talking about that holiday. It's called May Day or Marshallese Constitution Day, traditionally celebrated on May 1st, but a lot of Marshallese communities across Washington State and just anywhere that Marshallese communities live celebrate this day. It's a national holiday that's held in the Marshall Islands to celebrate their independence and their culture and traditions. And there was a event hosted in Spokane by the Spokane Marshallese Community Association. That's a new organization that's actually fiscally sponsored by PICA, but they do a lot of organizing with church leaders, which are a really natural organizing institution for communities that aren't traditionally recognized, and they're doing some cool work as they kind of get their work started. So I wanted to go ahead and give them a quick shout out and then spend a minute to also just talk a little bit about the Marshallese, and because we have such a large community here in Spokane, the second largest in the country. And I think sometimes when we engage with Heritage Month, we're, looking for performances or material items, but we're not actually learning a lot about history and culture. So I would like to take some time to talk about them. For anybody that doesn't know, Marshallese individuals, as well as folks from the Federated States of Micronesia and the Republic of Palau, are under a treaty with the U.S. called COFA, or the Compacts of Free Association. This community, this treaty was actually started following the 67 nuclear tests, which were carried out in the Marshall Islands during the Cold War from 1946 to 1958. The detonation of these 67 nuclear bombs actually is estimated to be an equivalent to 7,200 Hiroshima-sized nuclear bombs. So I just want to, that's a really important point because I don't think people realize the really devastating health impacts that has had on the community, and also why we have such a large or heavy migration pattern into the states by them and other, and in Spokane. So I wanted to just highlight that treaty. It allows them to live and work here legally, but and they pay taxes, but they are not citizens, so they're not able to vote. And they're without many other rights, as many people are that are living in the United States as residents. So wanted to spend just a second talking about them. really, really beautiful, amazing peoples, and I'm really lucky to get to work with so many of them. I wanted to highlight a report that was put out by Utopia. I just learned about this report in the last month and a half or so, so I'm actually going to just share it in the chat here for folks to um, check out. Utopia is our queer and trans Pacific Islander serving organization in Washington State, and they put out this climate community research study, which is pretty cool. So I want to highlight that. I thought I would talk a little bit about an issue that came up in a Pacifica Village Council meeting last month. Chair Faitalia was also there, but it has to do with maternal health. And this is becoming a really, really fast and large crisis that is not talked about enough in Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities. We've seen a lot of hospitals close their labor and delivery units in the Puget Sound area and then also in rural areas. We also have seen, and this was reported back from community, that some hospitals have actually been capping Medicaid patients, which is illegal. And patients have also been illegally redirected to a different hospital if they have Medicaid. So this is a really, really big issue. It's causing some economic issues where mothers also, because they're not able to get care during their pregnancy due to, lack of access to healthcare, they have to have their baby in the ER, which is the most expensive place to give birth, due to all the charges. And we continue to see really, really high maternal and infant death rates. So really want to raise that as a crisis that community is trying to deal with. And I know it's something that community organizations are looking at. PIB does a lot of maternal health work. That's really amazing. So just want to point that out. Want to point out the continuing housing crisis and the NHPI communities. I know my organization, PICA, is currently doing triage around housing. There are no resources that are available around housing right now, housing support. And so our community health workers are really just trying to negotiate with landlords for payment plans. If folks get behind, they're trying to find affordable housing for folks that are homeless. And the triage that's happening is that we're addressing the homeless folks, the families that are completely homeless first, which means that they have no car, no access to shelter, nothing. And then working our way through all the way up to folks who are experiencing homelessness by, doubling up in an apartment. And so just want to raise that as a continuing issue. It's extremely difficult. If anybody has any housing resources that we might not be aware of, I'm super open to hearing about those. I attended the Education Disparity Study CAB meeting this month. Just wanted to shout out the amazing research that has been done by UW on that. It was a very, very difficult meeting. I think we were reminded in this meeting that data very much just affirms our stories and experiences, but that meeting was not without tears, and it sat really heavy on our hearts all week because the data was extremely horrifying. And I think it's worse than people have known that it is. And so I'm really excited and grateful to all of our elders, like Lydia said, that have done the work to make data like this available now in 2025 so we can make sure that we're addressing these issue areas. The last thing I'll just quickly share is Asians for Collective Liberation here in Spokane did a wonderful programming for Heritage Month this month. They always do a really fantastic job celebrating the Asian and Asian American community. And I know I personally have very bittersweet feelings, I think probably like all of us around Heritage Month, because it asks for so much capacity for community members that are working on the ground or community agencies. It also takes a lot of resource and capacity for folks to, I think, show up, celebrate for the month and then kind of disappear for the other 11 months, whereas we as communities celebrate our heritage every day. And I think the NHPI community continues to experience quite a bit of erasure during this month, and programming, different events, and just wrong use of language that community has asked folks to discontinue. So on that now, I'm also going to just share this data report, and I'm going to reference folks to page 13, which has guidelines for what community has asked, NHPI communities have asked to be identified as when we talk about our communities as we work in solidarity towards better health outcomes for both NHPI and Asian American folks. So that's my report. Thanks so much.
Wow. Thank you, Commissioner McKenna, for that amazing report and all the work that you do and for schooling me. And I'm learning so much from you. But at this time, team, we're going to put our roundtable on pause to introduce Cabal. And I'm going to go ahead and invite our next guest, Cabal Seattle Community Service, to unmute and introduce themselves for the meeting. We look forward to meeting you and hearing more about your work. So welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity that you guys provided for us in order to present our organization and talks about what we are doing right now and how we can collaborate in the future for to provide more services to the community. So I don't know if you have a minute. I can share my short presentation I have provided about our organization. Let me see if I can present that one.
And again, can you let him share screen?
Yes.
He should already. Brenda has their names down. And while Dawood, you're pulling that up, Abdul, do you
Yeah.
want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, my name is Dawood Niazi. I'm the Executive Director of CAPAA Seattle Community Services. Yeah. And I want to also ask Abdul Hadi to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abdul Hadi, and I'm a Deputy Director for CAPAA Seattle Community Services. And yeah, it's nice to meet you all. Now I will let Dawood to go over some slides to introduce more about the institution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hadi. Let me see if I can.
Brenda, did they get access to share their screens?
I can see. I just requested to share the screen.
Okay, great.
Now I am sure that I can share my screen. This is share, no? Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you so much. Introduction, CAPAA Seattle Community Services is a non-profit organization registered under UBI 605-548-025 in Washington State. CAPAA Seattle, formerly known as a CAPAA Washington Association, supporting Afghan immigrant and refugee in area of Washington State. Our main goal and main services that empower individual and family through resource education and community support that we provide for these immigrant in Washington, especially Afghan community. It's also registered with IRS as a nonprofit 501c. This is our team, a team of people and professionals that we are all volunteers, and we are passionate to have more services and deliver services to our community, especially Afghan. Our vision is to create vibrant and self-sufficient Afghan community where individual and families thrive, preserving their cultural heritage while embracing the life and opportunity, the new life and uh, embracing the new life and responsibility as the new environment in the United States, just helping them to establish a new life in the United States and continue with new environment, new culture. That's all our vision is right now. So we have several key area services that we deliver to our community. The first one is that educational program like ESL classes, sewing, driving permit, preparing preparations for driving permit classes, and also recently we started digital courses for women and community-based services, legal aid referral, refugee integration, and navigation resources program for our community. We work with Kane County, with IRC, and also other organizations that if they have any services they can provide, and we are one of the organization that we can refer people who needs the help and for this organization. Cultural preservation, we had several services in the past, like a sport tournament, conducting cultural event for Afghan communities such as Women Day, Nowruz, Persian New Year, Eid al-Fitr, and Eid al-Adha. And that was our event that we conducted for Afghan community in the past, and we are keep continuing to do these one in the future. Uh, Advocating for policy changes at the local and state level to better serve refugee and immigration. We were also an active member of team for recognizing Nowruz as a new year for in Washington. Also, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. We work with Senator Trudeau, Yasamin, and to support the bill for recognizing the Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha in the Washington state, and also participating any advocacy program and advocacy event that support immigrants in the Washington. So our program, some of our program, I put it in the picture for you guys. This is one of our program for ESL classes that we had in the past, and also we are going to resume them in the future, maybe in month of July for Afghan women. Since you guys know that one, right now, community colleges, they don't have that capacity to enroll new students, new immigrant that they are really needed for ESL or English to learn English to continue work and uh, find some jobs. Also, we step in and we had some. We conducted some of classes for those women, and we will continue them in the future as well. Uh, Also, we have some soccer practice camp in the past, and for Afghaniyat, as you know, soccer is not a famous game in the United States compared to football and baseball or something like that. Most of these immigrants coming in the United States, especially Afghan, they have interested to play and practice in soccer. So that's why we have also had some session in the past, and we resume it, I think, in June 16 again back this session for Afghaniyat for those ages under 18 to help them. It's just an 8 week session to help them to prepare some with basic soccer skills and prepare them for some of other for tryout for with the higher clubs in the Washington, see how they can attend the tryout and get enrolled with some of other soccer club in the Washington to continue their support and with these clubs. We had a citizenship workshop for Afghan community, as you see in the picture, and we hope that we can continue this again back in the future again for our community. We had some sewing classes for women in the past, and we will resume back maybe in July with the help of IRC, International Rescue Committee, with us. We have also driving preparation or permit preparation classes for Afghan women. We had also Cobble Seattle Community Services, one of the organization in Washington. For the first time, we had several sport tournament like volleyball, soccer, and chess tournament that we had in the past for Afghan immigrant, as you see in the picture, and we will continue these services again with for our community in the future. Uh, we have also, as I mentioned, that we are active in preserving the heritage or cultural event for these immigrants, so they should not think that they are isolated, as they are new in the United States. They don't have relatives as they had back in Afghanistan. So these are some of our event that we had back or we had in the past for Afghan community. As you see, some of them is there was a Yalda night. I don't know, some of maybe Miss Nigin knows that what's the Yalda night. This is the longest night in the Persian or some of countries they celebrate that one in the winter. So we have some event with Afghan, like with under different name, under different cultural event that we conducted. As I told you that we are also active or providing services for immigrant advocacy. I think this is one of the picture that our team has attended for Nowruz recognition in the Washington State. That's one of, and after that, I think Nowruz now is a officially recognized holiday. So our partners is International Rescue Committee in Washington, Lutheran Community Services, Track Association, a New American Alliance for Policy and Research, Pursuit Institute, one of Afghan organization is in here, and of course you CAPAA in the recently that we have another one program out to these businesses. So how we can help with together, we can cooperate in implementing different program for Afghan community in Washington State. I can say Kabul Seattle Community Services is one of organization that provide a lot of free services for Afghan community. We are looking for those services that other organization does not want or not interested to provide for this community. So we are stepping on that. We step in this area, and then we will see if we can get some attention of the donors, or if it's not possible, if donor is not interested, see we can do from our internal budget to provide these kind of services for the Afghan community. Right now, currently, if you look at our Facebook page, currently we have also ongoing an Eid Bazaar for Afghan women. Those women that they cannot afford to open a store officially, but we did like a market for them to bring their clothes in one of the big hall that we have rented, and also invited other Afghan community to come and buy from them in order to support them. One of our main goals is that support the Afghan empowerment. So connect with you with our communities. This is another goal that we can also, or another area that in the future we can also work together. Help with on any outreaching programs maybe you guys have or another donor and our partners have for Afghan community. We can also help them to outreaching these programs uh, via our social media pages. So thank you so much. And thank you for considering supporting Kabul Seattle Community Services. Together we can create lasting change and uplift countless lives. If you look at want to see our website, this is website our website www.kabulseattle.org, and this is our email and our Facebook page. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer. And thank you for the opportunity that you provided for us to present our organization.
Thank you, Dawood, for sharing your beautiful community work with us and for lifting up the voices of what your community needs. I'm going to go ahead and turn to our commissioners and our staff to ask any questions of Mr. Dawood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your wonderful introduction and sharing your organization. I have a question about the specific question about the legal aid. How do your organization find out the legal aids for your community, and are they people other legal aids are they what is their cultural background? Can they speak the Afghan language, or they are English speaking? So what is the interpretation service between that?
So, as you know, we are a community-based organization in the Afghan community. So people is reaching us for if any help they need about legal aid. We are also working the other side with IRC, with Lutheran Community Service, with King County. As you know, recently King County has developed a database that they can also all the organizations that provide services. So what we can do, if these people reaching us, we help them to find the resource for them. Unfortunately, we cannot provide resource. We don't have legal aid people in our organization, but at least we can refer them to the organization that provide the resource for them. And also sometimes we can, since you know that one, most of them, they don't speak English. So one of our volunteer, even and most of time they can talk or translate what they need with these organizations.
Thank you.
We are playing as a bridge between our community and the resource that these organizations provide for this community.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Yes.
I'll pop in quick. Thank you so much. It's really nice to meet you. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate this. Y'all are doing really excellent work, and it's been really fun to listen to all the different programming that you do. That's has a lot of care behind it. So thank you. I wanted to ask two questions actually now, and short answers are fine. I don't mean to grill you, and we can totally connect after this. But I'm curious, first of all, kind of what area of your work you've found to be really hard to fundraise for. And the second question is, how has language access been for your community in different systems and institutions that are trying to serve them? I cannot remember, and I don't know how many languages you're looking at in your community either. But I can't remember quite how the top 15 most commonly spoken languages kind of falls, if you all are in there or maybe not. So I wanted to just ask about language access too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I will start with language access. That's one of the important for immigrants. You know that most of the immigrants, especially Afghan, they came to the United States, they don't speak English. When you don't speak English, it's so hard to find a job, to access the resource, the help. Even you go to healthcare. And anywhere, if you don't speak English, you face problem. So our goal is that if we can have some classes, prepare them for at least for college entry. If we can have some bigger kind of bigger access or level classes for these community, so they can learn the basic of English, and then they can, while they are on the waiting list with these community colleges, so we can prepare them at least with the basic English, and then they can go to college and continue because the college or the all the lesson is in English, even in English. So most of these coming that they don't know even what's your name. So this is our purpose. We are not here to give them that or the bump up their skill at the second or third or fourth level of the college, just for them to prepare for the college to go to this community college to start and continue their English classes. And that's one of the hard field that we cannot find donors to provide support for these one. And anyone is asking, we ask that here is the opportunity we can serve this community. They say that community college is there. But these community colleges, there is a lot of a long list with them. And I know that when some of the Afghan that I spoke with them, they are on the waiting list for 4 months or 5 months. How you expect an immigrant that come to United States and wait for 5, 6 months in order to be enrolled in these colleges? The first one, another is one is that our main area of programming is that supporting Afghan women or empowering Afghan women. So as you know, most of these Afghan women does not speak English, that cannot drive that because they cannot take the test. So we are looking the way that how we can empower them or equip them with the skill they needed. For example, if they cannot do this one, at least they can do selling works at home, and sell the product to the people who need that one. So we came to know that most of these Afghan women, they cannot pass the driving permit exam. That's why we did two classes from our internal budget for these women. And unfortunately, we cannot continue because we don't have that much budget to continue this. But we are looking also with the donors or organization to support us. We had a meeting with IRC, International Research Committee. They told us, yeah, this is one of the important area we can support it. But, takes months for them to to prepare their program, proposal, and find the funding for us and continue with these classes. I hope that I answer all your questions.
Would thank you. Unfortunately, we scheduled you guys for
Yes.
15 minutes. But thank you for meeting with us, and thank you for sharing about your community organization. One thing, the reason why staff wanted to bring you guys on this week, it was because the Afghan community is a relatively new community. It went from within the last 5 years from a small number to around 50,000 or more currently within the last 5 years. And to answer part of your question, Kiana, a lot of the data on languages are not updated to include the Afghan community. So that will probably have to be changed more recently. And the other reason why we wanted to bring you guys on the CAPAA Community Service is because we recently worked with CAPAA on economic development, and our next presenter will go more into depth into what the state can provide communities and organizations such as CAPAA Seattle Community Service. So, and we wanted to let the commission know what service this organization within the state has, and we want to bring it to other communities as well. So I'll turn it over to Lydia to present Hugo.
Thank you, Dawood, for your presentation. We look forward to supporting each other's work. Our next presenter, I'm sorry, team, we're running a little bit behind schedule, but it's all good because this is all great stuff. Our next presenter is the Office of Regulatory Innovation and Assistance. I'd like to invite the next presenter from ORIA, Hugo Nicholas, to introduce themselves for the board. Welcome, and please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hugo Nicolas, and I'm with ORIA. Just so some of you might be familiar with another ORIA, but we're a different ORIA specifically focused to support small businesses. So just want to make sure I clarify a little bit on that. But I want to introduce myself so you all kind of get to know me a little bit better. And I have a presentation here that I'll be sharing with you all. But one of the things that I want to start with is, so I came to this country when I was 11 years old as an undocumented individual, and I always like to acknowledge that because that's a really hot topic right now. One of the things that I'm passionate about, therefore, in my position, is to make sure that we create access to small businesses, specifically when there might be immigrant or refugee owned. So I'll talk a little bit more about the work that my agency does and how we can support small businesses, specifically in challenging times like right now. So our main purpose of our agency is to help small businesses navigate the regulatory process. We know that a lot of the times businesses don't know where to go. So I'm going to talk about 3 very important resources that I want to make sure that you all know about and maybe can share with your communities and your business network. So one of the things that we kind of keep hearing consistently, specifically for starting businesses, is that sometimes it's difficult to understand the regulatory process. How do you form the correct type of business? What type of technical support is available out there? And maybe they just need some direction in terms of where to go. And for growing businesses, sometimes it's like, hey, what permits do I need to do? What permits do I need to renew? What resources are available to help me growth, and what's available here locally or statewide, and also changes because those happen very often. So those are some of the problems that some of the business owners face throughout the state of Washington. And essentially, our agency manages what we call the Small Business Liaison Team, which is 29 different state agencies working together to create this process simpler for all of them. And I'm going to share kind of 3 of the major ways that we do that. And one of them is essentially obviously our vision and mission is just to make Washington succeed, and specifically small businesses. You can see a little bit more of our values, and I know I'm going a little bit fast, but I want to make sure I am cutting some time for you all, as it's Saturday and I know you'll want to head out. But with that being said, so business.wa.gov. This is a website that was created by all those different 29 agencies, where they compile a lot of the information the businesses want to know and frequently ask questions. One of the things that I will mention, our website gets anywhere over 250,000 visits from across the state and outside of the state of Washington, specifically businesses looking to start or just get information about things that are consistently. So for example, one of the things that we post in our website was regarding BOIR, which is not a requirement anymore, but we did have 19,000 visits just from that article we created. And one of the things about this website is we try to make things very simple because we know that for non-English speakers that can be hard, but also for English speakers can be really difficult when you start listening to agency content, words that might not mean the same across the board. So we try to simplify the process to creating flow maps, making visuals, because that is just easier to read and understand. And we want to make sure that businesses are not wasting time trying to read through paragraphs or long pages. So business.wa.gov is your one location where you can get a lot of resources. And I'll talk about a few of them in a little bit. So one of them, our most known resource is our newsletter. So we have about 500,000 subscribers, small businesses specifically, and we send this information. So out of the 500,000 subscribers that we get, we have about 250,000 people that engage with the content and about 30,000 people that will click on information to get more information and go directly to other agencies. On this newsletter, what we try to do is we don't try to replace a newsletter of other agencies, but we try to compile all the important things that business owners needs to know. So make sure you subscribe so you can stay updated. We share anything from regulatory changes to any business events that are happening across the state because we want to make sure that business owners know what is happening. The other thing that individuals really check out our website for is our webinars that we provide to in-person workshops that we do across the state. For example, about 2 weeks ago, we were in Dayton, Washington, and Clarkston, Washington. So one of our priorities has been to go to businesses and specifically where they're at. And we have put a high focus on rural communities. So we brought about 20 agencies to go connect with those businesses and learn a little bit more about the resources that they have available. The last thing that I mentioned on the website that is very popular is our contact list. So one of the things that you should all know, right? This should be like your to-go list because all the SBLT members specifically representing their agency, their contact information is there. So if you don't want to call that 1-800 phone number for that agency and you just want to have a direct connect, this will be your place to go. And these individuals are in a leadership position that will connect you directly to the right resource. So a really great resource to use for you and the people you work with. Now, one of the things that makes us very popular and the reason why so many businesses visit our website. So our business guide was created by multiple agencies and the small business development centers too, and essentially compiles all the different important things that businesses need to know from planning to starting to growing to even closing your business. It's translated in multiple languages too as well, so it's accessible to everybody. One of the things that we mentioned is creating accessibility. One of our coolest translations was to like Braille ready format for individuals that might be blind or deaf. We did a kind of a project where we asked around if this was needed, and definitely it was needed. We hosted a workshop about 2 years ago with individuals that were deaf and blind, and we had about 30 people turn out that we actually maxed out how many translators we could have. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. And we always get feedback from the community, so we're always adding more languages. And I know that for this one, when we went out to Kabul, one of the things that I noticed, I was like, we don't have this at least in Farsi, right? So I think we're gonna definitely add this for this month. So that would be a new translation that will be coming up. I just wanted to make that announcement there, and then we're gonna skip through this year. But the most important part that's going to make your life so much simpler for all of you. And this is another reason business.wa.gov is really popular is our information center. So when you go to business.wa.gov, you can go in there. You can either send a text, chat, email, phone, and ask any business related question you have, and we will do our research, and we'll make sure that we compile all that information to you and create a list of things and steps that you need to take. We get a lot of questions here from like, hey, I'm looking to add a liquor permit. Who do I need to talk to? Or, hey, I have employees. I am located in Georgia. How do I make sure I file all my requirements? And then we get crazy questions from like, how do you move a whale from Florida to Washington? Which there is permits and licenses. So we get a lot of questions in here that are really out there. So use this. And that is a little bit about what Oriya does and what we do. So I will open it up for any questions. One thing I did wanted to mention, just because I know that sometimes there's people see us as like, hey, do y'all do like marketing or business plans? So that's not really our role. Our role is really helping businesses navigate the regulatory process and connecting them to resources that are available to them. There is hundreds of times we hear it, right? Like, for example, people are not very familiar with like trademarks at Secretary of State, or they don't even know that Department of Revenue provides like one-on-one consultations on state taxes, specifically to make sure that businesses are collecting the correct taxes. And it's a free service where somebody comes out to you and connects with you. So that's the reason we do what we do, just to make sure that we help individuals promote and how we connect with businesses. But my last thing I just want to mention, my Startup 365 is a resource that's available. And that's more the one resource that you want to go to help you develop those skills to make your business more competitive, from marketing to planning your business and other things. And I want to make sure I highlighted this website here because this is the one that specifically anything that might be economic development or helping your business grow. This is where you're going to find those grant or loan opportunities within this page. But with that being said, yeah, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Hugo, for that presentation. Sorry to have you rush through it. This is very important information. It's 11:24, and I want to give 3 minutes for questions. Commissioner Dial, I'm just going to call you Malia. Do you have any, I see your notes here, very important. Do you want to give some feedback, or does anybody else want to give any feedback or questions?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Fratelia. I'm happy to answer any questions here. I feel like Commissioner McKenna covered so much of that really thoroughly. I was actually really just very inspired by her summary. So happy to also connect offline, and would love to, Commissioner McKenna, just to kind of talk through, I think specifically the maternal and infant mortality rates that you were speaking to. There's some data that we're trying to make sure that we're threading the needle on and getting out, and would love to be able to help see how we can help amplify that on behalf of our communities. But thank you for all of everybody, the presentations, and just this incredible discussion today. Really very inspiring and uplifting.
Hugo, I have a question. Would you be able to do a small business, like an online, you know, online teaching for our communities? Possibly we can have some translators, as I know that a lot of our AA and HPI communities really need this resources. We have Dawood here, and he had flagged up some of those things that they need. I believe they got the training, but just in case, this is very helpful as we talk about immigrant communities and our communities, refugees, and the importance of economic stability during this time. So thank you very much for this important resource. And so thank you for not gatekeeping and sharing it with all of us. Are there any questions before I move on to the next topic, back to our roundtable team? No. I see Bree. Okay. Okay, thank you for your time, Hugo. I look forward to connecting with you. So now, if there are 4 minutes left, if we can have the next Commissioner Eck, if you can, or Sam Cho, if you want to give your updates, we're going to go back to roundtables. How many of us are able to stay 5 minutes past time to finish up the roundtable section of it? Yeah, okay, I see a lot of thumbs up. So Commissioner McKenna just gave a very good report, and Larry, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Commissioner Cho.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone being here and the presentations. I'll make mine really quick one. Over the last couple of months, the organizations that I've been involved with have really been focused on Real ID. And I'm sure many of you know Real ID went into effect already, and it's already caused a lot of consternation within certain communities because you obviously need a Real ID to get through the airport now. And so that continues to be a push, I think, especially in our communities. Obviously, there's a lot of confusion around what is a real ID and the distinction between a real ID and an enhanced driver's license, because only U.S. citizens can get enhanced driver's licenses, but green card holders can still get other forms of real ID. That is the biggest confusion, I think, of what I've heard from our community. The only other thing that I'll mention is I know many of you know that I work for the mayor's office in Seattle. I was very proud to work on a project concerning the Chinatown International District. Those of you who know Seattle well know that we have these things called downtown ambassadors. And these are safety and cleaning ambassadors that go around the downtown core. Well, thanks to a $500,000 budget from the city and a $500,000 donation from the Amazing American Foundation, we have $1 million to finally get ambassadors for the Chinatown International District. So as a result of this $1 million funding, the Chinatown International District, BIA, will now have ambassadors. I think it's between the hours of 10 to 10 or something like that, 7 days a week. And so hopefully that will go a long way in helping make CID safer. But other than that, happy Heritage Month to everybody, and it's good to see you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cho. Commissioner Cho, I did get a request from somebody for you to speak on trade, and I will contact you offline about that. Commissioner,
I'm happy to do it. Thanks.
Thank you. We need that. Commissioner Fongsa, and please, popcorn.
Hello, thank you. I just had a really busy month with AAP and HPI month, traveling to a lot of the temples in Washington. The Lao temples. We're doing a lot of events for Lao New Year, tabling for CAPAA, and just connecting with community. So that was really busy every weekend. And then the local community here in Eastern Washington, they're just concerned with the immigration stuff, as everyone is. But the ones who are really affected in our side of the state are the Hispanic people more so. And so I've been connecting with the Tri-Cities Hispanic Chamber and attending some of those events just to learn more about what programs are out there to assist people, just to be ready and educated about that. So that continues to be a big topic here in our area. And luckily, the Asian community is not really affected here. So just keeping on top of that and being busy. Commissioner Eck and I are planning the August event to celebrate 50 years of Lao Americans coming to Washington State, and we are holding a ceremony there on August 8th, so just busy planning that as well. I'll popcorn it over to, let's see here, who has not gone? Commissioner Ping Ping.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Yes, I just came back from China 20 days ago, so not a lot to report. I applied the family leave to take care of my parents in Guangzhou, China. And so I just want to briefly share several things. One is a youth member of the Asian American community here in Spokane. she got speed on her car one day at noon in April this year in the city area in Spokane. She is the producer of a video of Spokane's early history of diverse cultural groups. So she created a 1 hour video. Her name is Lini. She considers this is something like a hate crime, got a speed on her car in the daytime. And her mom was sitting by just next to her. She was driving the car, and she is Chinese. She was adopted from China. Her mom is a white woman. Okay, and then the second thing is, according to the New York Times, the administration announced this week that it would aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, or for those studying in broadly defined critical fields. The administration also plans to enhance vetting of future applicants for student visas, including looking at social media posts. I have heard quite many Chinese people in Spokane, especially from the academia area, that they expressed the deep concerns on this phenomena recently. The third thing is I attended the Spokane United We Stand, the 5th Heritage Month celebration on the May 10th. And this year's the vendors has decreased from 127 from last year to 80 due to the budget cut affecting almost all DEI programs, and art and culture grants lost their funding. So this is something that I think it's our community is quite concerned. Yeah, that's my report. Thank you all. Who has not, is Commissioner Sistavati not reported yet?
Thank you, Commissioner Ping Ping. Hi again, everyone. I'm just going to highlight three things. Hopefully folks can hear me because my camera just kind of weirdly shut off. Okay, awesome. So this quarter has really been a testament of our the power of community for me. For the first time with Make Us Visible Washington, 64 organizations and hundreds actually came together for the effort to support SB 5574, which is advocating for the inclusion of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander histories in our school. Unfortunately, the bill didn't pass committee, but we did gain a lot of momentum. And 2026, it's definitely within reach. Today also marks the third annual Community Reception Student Showcase happening here at Inatai in Seattle downtown. There'll be performances by the students, keynote from Professor Connie Soa with the University of Washington, and a book lunch actually. I think three or four of our students actually wrote and created this book. So really just honoring the next generation of our leaders. So I'll be there, just really grateful for the organization. Since March, Washington has also been really alive with Lao New Year celebrations, really since the end of March. I've represented CAPAA at 4 events alongside incredible leaders like Commissioner Pongsa, Program Manager Kamkar, and Chair Faitalia. Really, thank you. It's been a privilege to support our communities alongside you all. And a very special thanks to Brenda, for orchestrating all the logistics, grabbing all the tabling resources, to coordinating the hotel setups and mileage details when both Commissioner Pongsa and I went over to Woodland, Washington for Lao New Year's there. And last thing is I wanted to highlight, again with what Commissioner Pongsa had mentioned, really a cherished milestone to myself, our communities, our Lao communities, for the 50th year celebration of Lao heritage and resilience. We received the governor's proclamation. Really, this recognition, it belongs to all of us, and really the advocates, the tireless advocates, the organizations, and our community, the Lao community, who has really sacrificed so much, and really as a tribute to our elders, those that have came in since 1975 and have held it down. So yeah, words really can't say what this means. So it's a tribute of 5 decades of perseverance and growth. And thank you, CAPAA, for your support in getting this proclamation done. And of course, please reserve August 8th in your calendar. Would love to invite all of you to join us at the state capitol lawn. So we'll be celebrating big. Thank you all for my report. Oh, and I think has Commissioner Leasing, have you gone? I can't remember.
I have not. Good morning, everyone. I'll try to make this quick since I know we are over time. Just a couple of things that I really wanted to highlight that I've been hearing from folks in our communities, which is really around a lot of fear about ICE detainments and also even ability to travel beyond Real ID, and just being unlawfully detained at airports, even for those who have legal status. I know, speaking for myself, I'm a naturalized US citizen and took my family back home to the Philippines last month, and we had to have a whole game plan of like what happens if I am detained at the airport and how do we like manage to like minimize the potential trauma to our kids if that's happening, et cetera. And I think that's just something that we had a really great presentation from CHA at our last meeting. I'd love to like talk through how we can amplify that messaging and deliver those resources to our communities so people have a proactive plan. Like I literally had a call list of like, here's who we talk to at the various state offices if we need assistance, and just want to make sure that like we are equipping our communities with those same resources, and it's not just people with specific access or a privilege to have that access. And then similarly, we're seeing a lot of ICE raids happening and arrests happening as people come into the courthouse for their immigration hearings. So they're trying to stay in legal status, but doing so also makes them vulnerable to being detained. So I'd love to talk through how can we support folks who are trying to follow the rules and ensure that they can stay in the country legally, but are now putting themselves at risk of being arrested. I don't have great answers for that. I just wanted to like talk through and maybe we could reach out also to our sister commissions to talk through like how are we working together in solidarity across our communities to provide folks with that protection and those resources. Are there things that we can organize to even just like help block folks and help them get to and from their hearings safely? One thing I want to acknowledge, I spent the last few weeks being like with folks in communities that on April 26th, there was a massacre in the Filipino Canadian community up in Vancouver, BC during the Lapu-Lapu Day Festival. 11 folks were killed, including as young as a 5-year-old, and that really deeply impacted a lot of us. But also, we actually had a lot of our Filipino community here in Washington State up in Vancouver celebrating, performing, etc. So people were directly impacted and traumatized, and that is something that is like we're continuing to struggle and process our healing around. So just that awareness for folks as you're interacting with the Phil-Am community here in Washington State, that is something that is just very still fresh in our minds, and something that we are grieving around. Lastly, I feel like I spent, since our last meeting, a lot of time around events really where we're like talking about the intersectionality of our identities. I had the honor of representing CAPAA at the Women's Commission panel around, what our identities as queer, brown, women and working in these spaces. So we had representatives from across our various commissions. And that was a really amazing dialogue that was moderated by Megan over the Office of Equity. And then last weekend, I went to Pride Asia, and it was a really great way to kick off, Pride Month. But it was also very clear to me how thin the support is for our queer and trans communities within our AA and HPI communities. And I think, when I look at how hard we show up for Lunar New Year and all these, festivals like celebrating our ethnic identities, it was a very stark takeaway for me to see how few people were there to show up in solidarity for our queer and trans folks. So I think just as we're heading into Pride Month, it would be really great to talk through like how can we show up better and really show support and full love for all our various intersecting identities. So yeah, I think that's just what I've been up to the last couple months. Thanks. And I'll popcorn it over to, let's see, who else has not gone here? Or was I the last one?
I think that you should speak up. I think that's just Carrie, I think. Okay, is everyone gone?
EDNAM and Chair Faitlia, I haven't gone yet, so I'll just quickly give my update. On our end, we are building up legal defense and immigration defense for many of our community members, particularly even green card holders who are being asked at SeaTac Airport to possibly, if they would like to turn back or turn in their green cards. In addition to that, our workers are struggling with not being able to show up at businesses because they're worried about being deported, which directly impacts our small businesses, which is why I think it's really important for Hugo to bring in those workshops right now and get small businesses and workers particularly to understand that this is a safe state for them. And how is it a safe state for them? They need to understand that before they show up at work, because if they don't show up at work, they are getting directly impacted with income and healthcare and their children not going to schools. So there's a lot of work on that front, plus also emergency rental assistance for crisis clients has dried up in the state. We need to, the next biennial budget, we need to bring that up. There's no money for it right now. So just highlighting a few of those efforts and, hopefully we can all collaborate and work together.
Thank you, Commissioner Upala. Thank you all commissioners for your work in community and being very generous at this time with your time, as this is a volunteer board. But thank you for all of the report back. I hope that we all continue to work together and work across communities to highlight and lift up our communities. So it is 11:43. This concludes our presentations and our meeting. At this time, do any commissioners have any other items for the good of order?
Carrie, can you stay for after the meeting for a minute?
Okay, besides Carrie.
Yes.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. The time is now 11:44 and we are officially adjourned. Thank you, team. Have a